Today, we're going to explore 7 practices that radically altered my existence in the span of just 7 days. Yes, you heard correctly, a mere week. I know it might sound implausible, but I assure you, these aren't your typical run-of-the-mill suggestions you encounter everywhere. These are authentic, unfiltered habits that I personally integrated into my daily routine. I experienced the challenges, the breakthroughs, and the victories, and the metamorphosis I underwent was nothing short of remarkable. I'm eager to share these insights with you because they've had such a profound impact on my own journey, and I believe they have the potential to do the same for you. Whether you're aiming to enhance your productivity, elevate your mental well-being, or simply initiate a positive shift in your day-to-day life, these habits can guide you towards those goals. So, find a comfortable spot, prepare your favorite beverage, and let's delve into this together. Trust me, you'll want to stay tuned until the conclusion, because these aren't just theoretical concepts. They're practical, actionable steps that you can begin implementing immediately. Additionally, I'll be sharing personal anecdotes and reflections from my own experience, offering you a raw and honest glimpse into how these habits worked for me. Without further delay, let's begin our exploration. Number 1. Waking up early. The first habit that revolutionized my life was rising early. To be completely transparent, I was never one to greet the dawn willingly. My bed was my sanctuary, and the snooze button was my closest ally. Mornings were a chaotic rush, often setting a negative tone for the entire day. However, I decided to give early rising a chance, and it proved to be a game changer. I set my alarm for 5 a.m. The initial days were grueling. I recall dragging myself out of bed, groggy and questioning the wisdom of this decision. But I persevered, and by the 3rd day, something extraordinary began to unfold. I started to appreciate the tranquility and serenity of the early morning hours. There was an almost magical quality to being awake before the rest of the world stirred, when everything was calm and peaceful. These extra hours provided time for activities I never seemed to find space for before. I began my day with gentle physical activity. Nothing too strenuous, just some stretching or a brief jog around the neighborhood. This not only roused me from sleep, but also invigorated me for the hours ahead. I also dedicated time to meditation and setting my intentions for the day. These moments of mindfulness had a significant impact on my overall mindset and productivity. Another unexpected benefit of early rising was the elimination of that rushed feeling. I had ample time to savor a nutritious breakfast, sip my coffee at a leisurely pace, and plan out my day. This unhurried start set a positive tone for the hours that followed. I felt more organized, less stressed, and had a greater sense of control over my time. One experience that stands out vividly was the morning I witnessed the sunrise from my balcony. It was a simple yet profoundly beautiful moment. As the sky transformed through a palette of colors and the world gradually awakened, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and inner peace. It was in that moment that I truly grasped the power of embracing the early hours. Now, I understand that early rising might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I encourage you to give it a try, even if just for a week. Start by setting your alarm just 15 minutes earlier than usual and gradually increase the time. You might be pleasantly surprised by the positive impact it can have on your life. It's not merely about having more hours in the day, but about utilizing those hours to create a more mindful, intentional, and fulfilling start to your day. Number 2, daily physical activity. Speaking of movement, daily exercise was the second habit that truly transformed my life. Let me be candid. I wasn't always the most active individual. I had a repertoire of excuses to avoid working out. I'm too exhausted, I don't have the time, or I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? But one day, I decided enough was enough. I made a commitment to move my body every single day for a week, and the results were astounding. I started small, just 20 minutes a day, alternating between yoga, jogging, and strength training. I wanted to keep it interesting to avoid boredom and prevent myself from quitting halfway through. The first few days were challenging, my muscles ached, and I felt drained, but I reminded myself of my motivation to feel better both physically and mentally. By the fourth day, something remarkable happened. I woke up feeling more energized, my mood had improved dramatically, I was less irritable and more positive overall. I realized that those 20 minutes of exercise weren't just about burning calories or building muscle. They were about dedicating time to myself, releasing stress, and boosting my endorphins. One morning, as I laced up my sneakers for a jog on a crisp, clear day, I experienced a sense of freedom and clarity that I hadn't felt in a long time. It was just me, the open road, and my thoughts. That feeling of connection to myself and the world around me was truly empowering. Physical changes began to manifest as well. My posture improved, I felt stronger, and I noticed an increase in my overall fitness. But the most significant change was in my mindset. Exercise became my time to disconnect from the world and reconnect with myself. It transformed from a chore into a form of self-care. Another highlight was my first yoga session. Initially, I was hesitant, doubting my flexibility and questioning whether it would provide a proper workout. But after a few sessions, I fell in love with the practice. Yoga taught me to be present, to breathe deeply, and to listen to my body. It was a transformative experience that extended beyond mere physical benefits. Incorporating daily exercise into my routine made me realize that caring for my body directly impacted my mental health and overall happiness. It's not about striving for perfection or pushing yourself to extremes. It's about finding a form of movement that brings you joy and making it a regular part of your life. If you're struggling to get started, as I once was, my advice is to begin small. Find an activity you enjoy, whether it's dancing, hiking, or even just a brisk walk. Commit to just a few minutes each day and gradually build up from there. Trust me, the benefits you'll experience will far outweigh the effort. It's a habit that has the power to transform not just your body, but your entire outlook on life. Number 3, journaling. The third habit that brought about significant change was journaling. I used to believe that journaling was reserved for those with an abundance of free time or a naturally introspective nature. I was skeptical. After all, who has the time to sit down and document their day when there's so much going on? But 1 week of consistent journaling completely shifted my perspective, and it became a cornerstone of my personal growth journey. I started simply. Every night before bed, I dedicated just 10 minutes to journaling. I bought a plain notebook and a pen that felt comfortable in my hand. No fancy apps, no pressure to make it aesthetically pleasing, just me and my thoughts. The first night, I stared at the blank page, unsure of what to write. But then I began with something basic: how my day went, what brought me joy, and what I struggled with. As the days progressed, I started to delve deeper. I wrote about my goals, my fears, my dreams, and even my insecurities. It was like having a conversation with myself, and that's when the magic began to happen. I started to notice patterns in my thoughts and behaviors. I realized that some of my worries were completely beyond my control, while others were areas where I could take concrete action. One night, I remember writing about a particularly stressful day at work. By putting my thoughts on paper, I was able to process my emotions more effectively. I documented what specifically caused me stress, how it made me feel, and what I could do differently in the future. This simple act of reflection helped me gain clarity and feel more in control of my emotions. Another powerful aspect of journaling was tracking my progress. I noted down small victories and milestones, no matter how minor they seemed. Looking back at these entries filled me with a sense of accomplishment and motivated me to keep pushing forward. For instance, I wrote about a presentation I was nervous about and how I prepared for it. Seeing my preparation process and the positive outcome documented in my journal was incredibly encouraging. I also incorporated a gratitude section in my journal. Every day, I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for. This practice shifted my focus from what was lacking in my life to appreciating what I already had. It was a simple yet profound shift that brought more positivity into my daily existence. One particularly memorable entry was about a random act of kindness I experienced. A stranger helped me when I was struggling with my grocery bags. Writing about this act of kindness not only made me feel grateful, but also inspired me to pay it forward. Through journaling, I discovered a lot about myself, my desires, my fears, my strengths, and my weaknesses. It became a form of therapy, a way to untangle the complex web of thoughts and emotions that we all carry around. It provided a safe space where I could be completely honest with myself without fear of judgment. If you've never tried journaling, I highly encourage you to start. Don't worry about writing perfectly or having profound thoughts. Just write whatever comes to mind. It could be a stream of consciousness, a recap of your day, or reflections on a specific event. Give yourself the freedom to express whatever you're feeling. You might be surprised at how much clarity and peace it brings into your life. Remember, it's not about what you write. It's about the process of writing itself. Number 4, mindful eating. The 4th habit that brought about significant change in my life was mindful eating. Like many people, I used to eat on the go, barely paying attention to what or how much I was consuming. My meals were often rushed affairs, eaten while scrolling through my phone or working on my laptop. I didn't realize how much this was affecting my overall well-being until I decided to give mindful eating a try for 1 week. Mindful eating is all about paying full attention to the experience of eating and drinking, both inside and outside the body. It's about savoring each bite, noticing the flavors, textures, and even the sounds of your food. I made a commitment to eat all my meals mindfully, and the results were eye-opening. I started by setting the scene for my meals. I cleared my dining table, set a nice place for myself, and removed all distractions. No phone, no TV, no laptop. At first it felt strange to sit quietly with my meal, but it quickly became a calming ritual. I began each meal with a few deep breaths to center myself and bring my focus to the present moment. One of the first things I noticed was how much more I enjoyed my food. I took the time to really taste and appreciate each bite. Foods I had eaten hundreds of times before suddenly had new, delightful flavors and textures that I had never really noticed. For example, the crunch of fresh vegetables and the sweetness of ripe fruit became much more pronounced. It was like experiencing food in high definition. Another major change was how much more satisfied I felt after meals. By eating slowly and mindfully, I gave my body time to signal when it was full. This was a big shift for me, as I used to eat quickly and often ended up overeating. By paying attention to my hunger and fullness cues, I found that I naturally ate less and felt more satisfied. One memorable experience was with a simple bowl of oatmeal. Normally, I would wolf it down without a second thought, but this time I took it slow, savoring the creamy texture and the subtle sweetness of the honey I drizzled on top. It became a moment of gratitude and mindfulness that set a positive tone for the rest of my day. I also started to notice how different foods made me feel. Heavy, processed foods left me feeling sluggish and bloated, while fresh, whole foods made me feel energized and light. This awareness led me to make healthier choices naturally, without feeling deprived or restricted. Another aspect of mindful eating is being aware of the emotional connections we have with food. I started to recognize when I was eating out of boredom, stress, or emotional comfort, rather than true hunger. This awareness was powerful. Instead of mindlessly snacking, I could address the underlying emotion. Maybe I needed a break, some relaxation, or a chat with a friend, rather than a bag of chips. There was one particular evening when I had a craving for something sweet after dinner. Instead of automatically reaching for dessert, I paused and asked myself if I was truly hungry or just seeking a reward after a long day. I realized I wasn't actually hungry and opted for a warm cup of herbal tea instead. It was a small victory that highlighted how powerful mindful eating can be. Incorporating mindful eating into my life was a transformative experience. It helped me develop a healthier relationship with food, improved my digestion, and even enhanced my overall sense of well-being. It's a habit that I've continued beyond that initial week, and I can't recommend it enough. If you're interested in trying mindful eating, start with just one meal a day. Sit down without distractions, take a few deep breaths, and savor each bite. Pay attention to the flavors, textures, and how the food makes you feel. You might be surprised at how this simple practice can change your entire eating experience. It's a wonderful way to reconnect with your body and truly appreciate the nourishment that food provides. Number 5. Limiting screen time. The fifth habit that brought about significant change was limiting my screen time. This one was particularly challenging for me, and I suspect it might be for many of you as well. We live in a digital world, and it's so easy to get sucked into endless hours of scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, or checking emails. But I realized that all this screen time was taking a toll on my mental health, my productivity, and even my sleep. So, I decided to set some boundaries and see what happened. First, I set a daily limit of 1 hour for non-work-related screen time. This meant no mindless scrolling through Instagram, no endless YouTube marathons, and no late-night TV binges. It was tough at first. I had become so accustomed to filling every spare moment with screen time, but I knew I needed to make a change. The first thing I noticed was how much more time I had in my day. I didn't realize how much of my time was being eaten up by screens until I consciously limited it. With those extra hours, I found myself rediscovering old hobbies and interests that I had neglected. I picked up a book I had been meaning to read, started doodling and drawing again, and even tried my hand at cooking new recipes. One evening, instead of watching TV after dinner, I decided to take a walk in the park. The fresh air, the sounds of nature, and the simple act of moving my body felt incredibly rejuvenating. It was a stark contrast to the usual screen-induced lethargy I felt. That walk became a cherished part of my daily routine, something I looked forward to and enjoyed immensely. Another significant change was in my sleep quality. I used to take my phone to bed, scrolling through social media or watching videos until I felt sleepy. But this habit often left me feeling wired and restless, leading to poor sleep. By limiting screen time, especially before bed, I found it much easier to wind down and fall asleep. I started a bedtime routine that didn't involve screens, reading a physical book, meditating, or simply reflecting on my day. This change led to deeper, more restful sleep and made a huge difference in my overall energy levels. I also noticed improvements in my mental health. Without the constant barrage of news updates, social media comparisons, and digital distractions, I felt less anxious and more present. I was more focused during conversations, more attentive to the people around me, and more engaged in my daily activities. It was like a fog had lifted, allowing me to see and experience life more clearly. One particularly memorable day was when I spent an entire afternoon at a local cafe with just a notebook and a pen. I wrote down my thoughts, planned some goals, and even sketched a bit. It was such a peaceful and productive time, free from digital interruptions. I felt more connected to myself and my surroundings in a way that screens had never allowed. Of course, there were moments of temptation and slips along the way, but each time I noticed myself reaching for my phone out of habit, I gently reminded myself of the benefits I was experiencing and redirected my focus to something more fulfilling. Limiting screen time is not about completely eliminating technology from your life. It's about creating a healthier balance and being more intentional with your time. If you're feeling overwhelmed or disconnected, I encourage you to try setting some screen time boundaries. Start small, maybe with an hour less each day, and gradually increase it. Use that extra time to reconnect with yourself, your loved ones, and the world around you. You might be surprised at how much richer and more fulfilling life can be when you step away from the screens and engage more with the real world. Number 6. Daily learning. The sixth habit that revolutionized my life was committing to daily learning. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we don't have time for continuous education. But I discovered that dedicating even a small portion of each day to learning something new can have a profound impact on personal growth and mental stimulation. I started by setting aside 30 minutes each day for learning. This could be reading a non-fiction book, watching an educational video, or taking an online course. The key was consistency and variety. I explored topics ranging from history and science to philosophy and practical skills. One of the most surprising benefits was how this habit sparked my curiosity. I found myself eager to learn more about topics I'd never considered before. For instance, a brief video on astronomy led me down a fascinating path of exploration about our universe. This newfound curiosity spilled over into other areas of my life, making me more engaged in conversations and more observant of the world around me. Moreover, this habit of daily learning improved my cognitive abilities. I noticed improvements in my memory, critical thinking skills, and ability to connect different ideas. It was like giving my brain a daily workout, keeping it sharp and agile. A particularly memorable experience was when I learned basic coding through an online course. Not only did it demystify the world of programming for me, but it also gave me a new perspective on problem solving that I could apply to various aspects of my life. The beauty of this habit is its flexibility. On busy days, I might only manage to read an informative article or listen to an educational podcast during my commute. On days with more time, I could dive deeper into a subject that intrigued me. The key was consistency, making learning a non-negotiable part of my daily routine. If you're interested in adopting this habit, start small. Choose topics that genuinely interest you, and don't be afraid to explore new subjects. The goal isn't to become an expert in everything, but to cultivate a love for learning and to continuously expand your knowledge and skills. Number 7. Practicing gratitude. The seventh and final habit that transformed my week was practicing gratitude. It might sound simple, but consciously acknowledging the good things in life, no matter how small, can have a powerful effect on your overall well-being and perspective. I began by keeping a gratitude journal. Each night before bed, I would write down 3 things I was grateful for that day. They could be as simple as a delicious cup of coffee in the morning or as significant as a major accomplishment at work. The key was to be specific and to really feel the gratitude as I wrote. At first, it felt a bit forced. Some days, especially the challenging ones, it was hard to think of things to be grateful for. But as I persisted, I noticed a shift in my mindset. I started looking for things to be grateful for throughout the day, which naturally made me more positive and appreciative. One particularly impactful moment was when I expressed gratitude for a difficult conversation with a colleague. Instead of dwelling on the discomfort, I appreciated the opportunity for growth and understanding that the conversation provided. This shift in perspective helped me handle challenging situations with more grace and optimism. I also started expressing gratitude to others more often. A simple thank you to the barista who made my coffee, or a heartfelt note of appreciation to a friend, not only brightened their day, but also deepened my own sense of connection and positivity. The effects of this habit extended beyond my mood. I noticed improvements in my relationships as I became more appreciative and less likely to take people for granted. My stress levels decreased as I focused more on the good in my life rather than dwelling on problems or shortcomings. If you want to try this habit, remember that gratitude is a practice. It might feel awkward or insincere at first, but with consistency, it becomes more natural and powerful. You don't need to write in a journal if that doesn't appeal to you. You could share your gratitude verbally with a friend or family member each day, or simply take a moment of quiet reflection to acknowledge what you're thankful for. As we wrap up our journey through these 7 habits that dramatically changed my life in just 1 week, I'm filled with a sense of awe at how such seemingly small changes can lead to such profound transformations. Each of these habits, from waking up early to practicing gratitude, has the power to create significant positive changes in your life. I truly believe that if these habits could work for me, they can work for anyone. But it's important to remember that everyone's journey is unique. If you've been inspired by any of these habits, I encourage you to try them out for yourself. Start small, maybe with just 1 habit, and see how it feels. Adjust according to what suits your lifestyle and needs. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. It's about making small, manageable changes that accumulate into substantial transformations over time. Some days will be easier than others, and that's okay. The key is to be patient with yourself and to keep moving forward. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Which habit are you thinking of adopting? Do you have any questions about getting started? Your feedback and stories are what make this community so amazing and supportive. Sharing your journey could inspire others to make positive changes in their own lives. If you found this discussion helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of our future content. We have lots more insights and tips coming your way that you won't want to miss. Sharing this video with friends or family who might benefit from these habits could also make a huge difference in their lives. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of life-changing habits. Remember, small changes lead to big results. Let's keep growing, keep evolving, and turn our everyday routines into powerful moments of self-improvement. Until next time, stay awesome, everyone.